The United States of America is the world's most powerful country, boasting a dominant economic and military power. As history has showed us, great empires don't last past 200 years. Well, founded on July 4th, 1776, the United States is now breaking that historic mold. However, with recent trends in the American political and social system, many are making comparison between the U.S. and Rome. Just before the fall, I sat down with former Congressman Trent Franks to discuss the role of America around the world and at home.
Gentlemen, please welcome the next President and First Lady of the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump, accompanied by Mrs. Melania Trump.
And I'm proud to be an American.
From the indictment of a former president to a social, racial, and economic divide, and fears about the onset of World War III due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Let's face it, life in America has changed.
People. But sooner or later, the people of this country are going to have to say, you know, we're going to have to step back from this petty nonsense of just the political calculation. We're going to have to say which people are holding to the foundational principles that made this country what it is. Whether it's economic policies or constitutional policies or social policy, we are going to have to get back to the notion that we are committed to the truth and that we're going to make sure that every person has a right to live and be free and pursue their dreams, and we're going to recognize their right to property. And if they are productive, that helps everybody, so we want to try to incentivize that. And the free markets are the way to do that, and socialism has the exact opposite.
Socialism and capitalism are two prevailing economic systems in developed countries. America was founded by capitalists who believed that free enterprise creates wealth. They felt that private ownership of land, capital, and labor should be respected. And they thought that competition among companies should be encouraged. These beliefs have shaped our economic system. But now there's a socialist push among the far left. Socialism is an economic and political system under which the means of production are publicly owned. Production and consumer prices are then controlled by the government. This system, Franks says, has been proven time and time again to fail.
It's just the bottom line is that when we embrace socialism, as we've been doing lately, we put ourselves on an inexorable march to poverty and to brokenness. I mean, I'm reminded that Venezuela was the wealthiest country in South America, and they came in, the socialists, and said, "Boy, we can straighten this out for you. We can take over these big oil companies. We can really make it work." And so they did that, and the people helped them do that. And for about a year and a half, it was happy days are here again, because they had all of this wealth that they had confiscated, and were able to pass this along to their ostensible voters. But then productivity stopped. And you know, every bit of economy is always measured in productivity, and if we forget that, we do so at our peril. And when that productivity stopped, then the money stopped, and then a year later, people were begging for bread in the streets.
Another element of the American climate today is the deep division between political parties, namely supporters for or against Donald Trump, an issue that came to a head on January 6, 2021.
The government did this to us. We were normal, good, law-abiding citizens, and you guys did this to us.
A group of MAGA supporters stormed the Capitol while Congress was in session in an effort to prevent the official vote from being formalized, which meant Joe Biden would officially become the president later that month. Now, as Trump has announced his intentions to run for re-election in 2024, political opponents who ran on campaign slogans to, quote, "get Trump," have successfully indicted the former president. New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg made history when the former president was indicted on charges of falsifying business records, something political experts say shows the deterioration of democracy.
Regardless of one's perspective on our former President Trump, the notion that the legal system would be weaponized against him is something that should scare the hell out of all of us, because it has incredibly dark implications, and I hope that somehow the American people reject that part of it. We can still go on debating who should be president and all of these things. That's wonderful, that's good and right. But when we start deliberately using the mechanisms of government, especially the mechanisms of justice, to deliberately target and destroy our opponents before the ideals of debate and honest interaction can discover the real truth, then we are going to unfortunately become aligned with a lot of the third world countries that we have castigated for so long for their lack of commitment to freedom. And it's just it's a terrible hypocrisy on the part of any government that weaponizes itself to go after its political opponents.
Dominating the news in America and around the world is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Strategic moves between China's alliance with Russia and Finland becoming a member of NATO has people and leaders everywhere discussing the possibility of World War III. According to Franks, under the Biden administration, America taking a soft stance toward Vladimir Putin contributed to the conflict.
Now, because we were weak in this situation related to Ukraine, the stakes have gone up, and now we have Vladimir Putin talking about his nuclear options. And I served on the Strategic Nuclear Forces Committee in Congress for 15 years, and I understand a lot of the dynamics there that I wish I didn't. But the truth is that he has a very capable nuclear force. Russia has fallen in its economic capability tremendously. Russia's 1/10 now, 1/10 of the economic power of China. China's 10 times as powerful as Russia is economically. But Russia has a nuclear arsenal that is essentially parity to the United States. And so if those two get together, it has monstrous implications.
Those implications could be on a nuclear level down to a taxation level. Given the vast amount of issues now pressing the American public, questions like what can be done or how can we change the current collision course are dominating discussions. Frank says it's important to look back before we looked forward in order to learn lessons from the past and not repeat those mistakes in the future.
In the days that Rome was approaching their downfall, the call in the arena was, give us more bread and circuses. They would have these big arena events where the Christians were fed to the lions or some other group that you didn't like for sport. And that was probably not a real good example of human compassion. But then they would throw bread, big loaves of bread to the crowd from the government, that's because we are here to take care of you. And of course, it was about the same reciprocity. These people had an enormous tax burden, but they would get a little loaf of bread once in a while. And somehow that was to placate them and keep them supporting the existing government.
For more in-depth stories and world headlines, check out SOCIALISMVSCAPITALISM. I'm Ginger Jeffries. Thank you for watching. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Break the cycle. Be informed. Satluj Network. Let the truth flow.